Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video, let's continue the discussion on the asynchronous functionality of JavaScript. So the next feature that we're going to discuss from the JavaScript is called as the fetch API. A fetch API is nothing but it is a function which returns a promises. So it is going to return the promise object. So using the object of the promise, we can call the dot then methods if it is a result, and we can call the dot catch if it is a rejected, and so we can call any sort of APIs using the fetch. So this is the most primitive way of actually referring any API using JavaScript. So let's see how it works in real time. So here we have, so this is how we can call it. So it's just fetch is just an API. You don't need to explicitly import any library for it. So for this I am providing some URL. So let's see what this URL has. So this is actually a very famous repository called as the JSON placeholder. Let me type this and see what I'm getting. So you can see that it is returning me some sort of JSON response. If I can zoom it up. So I got some sort of response. So it's saying this this is the ID, and it is returning me a lot of fields. So this is how it's going to give me an output. So and how are we using it? So I'm actually calling this API. So I'm going to get this response, and this response, I don't know how it's going to be fetched. So I'm going to call my response.json on that promise object, and then I'm going to get the data, and I'm going to print the data, and if there is any error, I'm going to catch the error, and I'm going to console it onto my console. So let me run this and see what my output would be. It says URLs found in the code, you must log in. Okay, we have to provide another login session for this, but anyway, so you can see that, so we have called an API. So using this API, okay, so for this API, uh, I need to pass some sort of IDs. So let's create a, okay, let's use another a new API called as OMDB, and see how we can create and use it in our program. So let me go to the other side. We can also do the same thing using async await. So since here we are returning promises, so we just use the inbuilt methods like the dot then and the dot catch. But if you have a lot of fetch statements, so it becomes quite hard to manage. So you can use async await functionality in a similar way. So here, so we are awaiting on the response. So we are awaiting on the response of the fetch call, and then we are assuring that the response.json is properly done, and then we're going to console the data. So we can see how the variables are actually defined here. So also we can understand how the data is held in this program, right? So okay, let's create a database, I would say. So and in a similar way, I'm going to show you another example of how a post record would look like. Okay, so it's actually kind of same, but during the fetch you have to specify that the method is actually the post, and you have to, you if it's needed, you can sort of provide some sort of headers, and in the body you can, sort of provide the data that you want to send to the API. So this is how the post works. So and let's see an example of how we are going to create an API key for it. Okay, I'm going to use another API. Okay, let me remove all of this. Okay, so here you can see that I used some new API called as a request response. So this is a free API. So let's see how this API works. So it's giving me a similar output, to be precise. So we got the same output. So here we don't need any sort of explicit key to sort of access this. So let's try and see if we can fetch the data. So let me run this. So we're getting the same output because, okay, we need Okay, I don't know what is the exact reason, but I don't think this program has the ability to actually fetch something. Okay, anyway, let's see. So let's try to understand how it let's try to understand the workflow. So in a similar way, I'm trying to fetch this API from the request response. um, Fine. And then if the a response, a status code is 200, or I can say if the a response is okay, then if it is okay, if it is not okay, I'm going to throw error, and if it is okay, then I'm going to call the response.json, and I'm going to print the data. So this is what this is what is expected of it, right? So fine, and let's see another example of how this data looks like. So let's try to explore this API. So here, let me call the user 3. So I got an output. So this is actually my request body. So this is not exactly what is returned to me. If you go to inspect this element, so you can see the headers. So it will have a lot of information, right? So here we can see, the headers which are which we got in those headers. So you can see what is the request type, and what are the request types, and what is the API call, and some information about the origin system, and other things will be given. So this is how a fetch API is used. So a fetch API is actually a more a syntactic sugar over the XML HTTP object. So it works asynchronously. It internally uses the all the functionality used by Ajax. So it is an upgrade over Ajax. So this is how we sort of define it. So now let's see an example that is through so let's try to create an example with which we can do the same operation using Ajax. So let's see the code. So here, this is the same code, but in this code we have used the XML HTTP object. So this is how Ajax works with the request response. So I have used the same website. So I'm calling the same API, and I'm saying this is an asynchronous function, and I'm saying true, and this is my and it is my method, and on load I'm defining this function. So this is my callback, and on error I'm defining another function, and then I'm calling access.send. So it is going to send the request, and when the request is back, I'm going to check if the status is 200. Then I'm going to do all the external parsing. So so instead of doing all of this, we can simply use this fetch call and make everything a much simpler, right? Now let's see another example with know, how we gonna. So let's try to create a website. So let me go to HTML tab. Let me paste this. See we so let me explain how this code works. So this is just a movie search. There is something called as an OMDB API. It is a movie repository. So this is some sort of styles, and so this is all my HTML. So there is some tags, and so there we have a button. So let me run this and see what my output looks like. So this is my output. Okay, so this is my main button. So this is my search button. So when I'm gonna click on this button, it is going to call a function called fetch movie. So where is this function defined? It is defined in the script. So this is my fetch movie will be called, and here I am trying to get the so this is my input tab, right? So uh, for this input tab, I have defined an ID called as movie input. So I'm using my document API, and I'm going to get an element by ID, and I give my ID as movie input. So I'm going to get I'm going to access this element, and now I'm going to call the dot value a property. So I'm going to get the value of whatever I'm going to enter here. So let me say RRR. So this is my value, and this entire thing is my element. So this value will be fetched. So I have my movie title. I'm going to trim it, and I'm going to enter if my movie. So okay, let's say I didn't enter anything and I'm just trying to search it. So it is going to tell me that okay, I have to I have to enter a movie title. So this is some sort of error correction, and then I'm creating my XML HTTP object, and I have to provide my API key here. So, so you have to log in onto that website and get your own key, and then this is going to be the format of URL. So the reason why the REST API was a revolution is because so we can provide a URL at a dynamic space. So here the URL is going to be consistent in this way. So you just have to replace your movie title here, and you have to replace your API key here, and the rest of the URL will stay the same for any program, for any client. So this is a great feature of the REST API. So this is my URL, and I have my API key, and I have created my object, and now I'm opening the connection. I'm going to say get, and this is my URL, and it is an asynchronous task, and this is my callback function. And when I got the response, I'm going to parse the response text, and the response is true. I'm going to call another function called as the a display movie, and I'm going to send the data, right? And I'm going to get the movie container. So I'm actually defining some. Okay, I'm defining some ways of correcting if I don't find anything. And on error, I'm defining that on error I have to uh, get my inner HTML, and I have to say that there is some sort of network error, right? And let's see how the display movie works. So since I have all this JSON with me, so this is my main JSON object. So using that object, I'm going to get the property called as title, the year, the genre, the director, the actor, plot, and the title. So everything I can get it, and I'm going to print it. So this is one way of doing a call. So here we used Ajax. Now let's try to see the same code using fetch. So let's see how easy a fetch makes it. Uh, okay, let me go. Yeah. So let me clean this up and let's see. So let's see if it's actually giving me the same interface. So we got the same interface, and was it and is it more readable than the previous example? Let's see. So here, so we have a similar HTML, and now in this fetch movie, I'm still getting my element by ID, and I'm going to trim it, and I'm going to say, and now I'm creating my API key, and I'm creating my URL, and here, so I'm just making the simple call fetch this URL, and I'm awaiting for that, and I'm gonna get my response, and if the response is not okay, I'm gonna throw an error, and I'm going to parse it into JSON, and I'm going to call the display movie. So the fetch seems to be an easier approach, and it internally works using the promises. So at any point of time we can access all the objects. So we have so internally it is a very robust system. So you can use any of Ajax or the fetch. So they both are in the same way, and there is actually another advanced library called as Axios. So we can also use Axios for this, but a fetch is usually what we use because of its a simplicity. So right, so we've seen the example. So in the same way, we're going to display the movie, right? So I hope you understand the difference between the Ajax and a fetch. So they both are internally doing the same thing, but a fetch is more of syntactic sugar. So it's going to provide you just a single call. It is going to manage all of this internally. But Ajax is an older mechanism. It is a legacy. But using Ajax, we can understand how a call is made. So I recommend we need to learn Ajax first, and then we should move to fetch. to sort of understand how fetch works, and so you have to know a lot about the promises to sort of manage the outputs of the fetch call, right? So if possible, I'm gonna make another video about the Axios and some other libraries for API testing, right? So that's all for the video.